is next.
That's,
At least they're staying healthy.
yep.
Didn't want me to unmute. Is that a sign?
You're unmuted. I hear you.
I know. It didn't want me to. Hey, guys.
Staying healthy.
My dear, we're in the bird feeder, Polly.
Yep.
Didn't want me to unmute. Is that a sign?
You're unmuted. I hear you.
I know. It didn't want me to. Is that a playback?
We're getting
Hold on a
feedback
second.
from.
It's
We're
mine.
in the bird feeder, Polly.
That's my fault, y'all.
Didn't want me to unmute. Is that a sign? I don't want to
Hold
hear
on.
it twice. Once is enough, guys.
Everybody hold up just a second.
Ooh.
It's cold.
Thank you. I may unmute in a minute.
Have you seen any deer dying at your house?
How many do you want, Polly?
None, but they're black. They're almost black. I just wondered that I've never seen them so black.
Their coats change, if you've noticed, to the darker for the winter, and they
They
are
do,
dark.
but
think
they're
it
the
must be-
darkest.
More snow, probably. Where's Isa at?
I mean, it's like, I swear it was a black squirrel winter.
I've heard that more than once.
But their coats are incredibly dark this year. They look more like mules right now.
I know they don't. I've never seen them this dark before, but I've,
It's coming. It's just, yeah, it's it usually starts at 4. So it's actually live, and I just have to give Travis a minute to get it up. So it's actually there. We just got to give him a second to get it up. All right, see you. Bye.
We will need to do the pledge, I assume, as usual.
So Josh, the agenda is live in on eAssembly, and I made everything public so everything can be seen. There isn't anything closed session or anything. So you should be able to just log in or not even log in and see every detail in eAssembly. And it has the pledge, but yes, the roll call and the pledge we'll need to do. And then for any vote that you all take, if you decide to take a vote, then you'll need to do an individual vote because we are electronic. So roll call vote.
You must have just got that up there because I checked it earlier on eAssembly.
I did. I made it. I just published it. I had forgotten to click the button.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I
Yeah.
made me some notes on my paper going back to other meetings, making sure I had them in the right order.
Yeah, there you go. It's all there. I'm sorry. My fault. I noticed that we have done some PD all day, pretty much discussions, and I hadn't clicked the button.
Check to see if I had my clothes on this morning. Okay. It's just one of those days. I'll tell you all about it sometime.
Hey, Kim, can you hear us?
I can.
I'm trying to log in on
I
that.
think you're muted.
Hello.
There you are.
They can.
So, Kim, if you missed it, Dr. Cox said the agenda is up in Assembly if you need to pull it up. It's got all the attachments and everything there.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Walker, do you know if they're ready or
We're good to go anytime y'all are.
everybody good? Okay. All right. I was just waiting on that. Looks like I see everybody here. I'm going to call this special meeting of the Ashe County Board of Education to order. This is for Tuesday, November the 23rd, 2021. I'll start, if we can, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I guess we can stand and sit back down after we pledge, or ever have. I never have done the pledge sitting down. I'm sorry. I have to stand. So
I was gonna get it said.
it's okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which
which
it
stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Dr. Cox, thanks for the flag. I needed that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Stays on my desk.
Next, we've got on here for approval of the agenda. We just do have one item on the agenda for this afternoon. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Okay.
Well, I can't even see. Okay.
All right. Do I have a second? I know Kim and Diane were both talking at the same time.
I'll second.
Okay, there we go. That'll work. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, to approve the agenda, if everybody will, just raise your hand to the screen. There. Okay. Motion to approve the agenda is accepted. All right, and I'm gonna bounce back and forth here, so my apologies here. Next, the only item we have under action items right now is the mask policy and timeline discussion. This is the purpose of this meeting, is to discuss mask policy and timeline. Dr. Cox has included in the agenda there updated numbers, as well as emailed the board some information there on that. So do we have questions, comments from the board, some discussion? Anybody have any questions?
I have one for Dr. Cox on the test to stay. I saw that it is still with mask optional. Test to stay can be used by Ashe County. Is that correct?
So it will be, test optional will be able to be used starting the 29th. So right now, the middle and high school are unable to do that because it was outside of the approval of North Carolina DHHS in the study. However, it has been updated. We were in phase 1, which was only with masks, and you had, I think I provided you all with a list of the districts. It was 1 charter and 6 districts across the state that were participating. We are able to, through the approval of North Carolina DHHS, through the study that the ABC Collaborative is doing, to do the test to stay in a mask optional environment beginning the Monday following Thanksgiving, which is the 29th.
And students who are wearing mask or not wearing mask can be tested to stay?
If that is correct, if the exposure happened at school. So the study still does not allow for at-home exposures. That might be a later part of what they want to look at. But right now, any exposure that happens at school will be eligible. And of course, that's based on parent permission. While we do have quite a few students participating in it now in lieu of quarantine, we have had some parents who have said no, that they don't want their child tested, so they keep them home in quarantine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have something I'd like to share with all of you, and I'm not making a comment either way. I'm just telling you this is the situation. I ran into a friend of mine today who has 4 children. Her husband was diagnosed positive with COVID. And so one child is in the middle school. He is quarantined for 14 weeks. Two of the other kids, one of them is not in school yet. 2 of the other kids could go back to school tomorrow or Thursday if we were having school, because they were masked at school. Okay. So we've got a parent who somebody has to stay with the kid for 14 days because he was quarantined at the middle school and she doesn't feel comfortable leaving him at home, but she cannot take him to the grandparents either. So it's possible she may have to miss 2 weeks of work to stay home with the child during his quarantine. This was the situation as she related it to me today. It's currently going on.
Dr. Cox, just to back up on Keith's question with test to stay, do you know, have they give you any hints on timelines if that may change on outside exposure, outside of school versus, okay.
No, we're in phase one. We're currently in phase one. That was what initially was approved. They submitted, once they have a certain number of participants in it, they can start giving data back to the state, and it's looked really good so far. And then phase two begins on the 29th. And so my guess is they'll do phase two in the mask optional environment. And it's only with the small number of districts that I shared with you that are eligible. That doesn't mean they'll all participate. And some of them are mask optional. Some of them are have masks. So that will happen for a period of time. And then I think the idea is to have for ABC Collaborative to responsibly have good data. If you open the floodgates and do everybody at once, then you might not have a certain control. And it is a study that's outside what's normally allowable from North Carolina DHHS. So we're able to, through the test to stay, be less restrictive with quarantines than what all the other districts are able to do.
Okay.
Dr. Cox, do you know approximately what percentage of elementary school children have been vaccinated?
I don't have an exact percentage, but we had 127 elementary students that were vaccinated on the day that we have or that we provided the vaccination clinic. We don't currently require students or families to report their vaccination status. So therefore, we don't have a full picture of how many have gotten vaccinated, but we did have 127 that particular day. And in the toolkit, or not in the toolkit, well, the toolkit was updated Friday too, but from one of the documents that's in eAssembly at the very bottom, it shows the breakdown between the 3 elementary schools, how many students were vaccinated at each. And we had 26 at Blue Ridge, 40 at Mountain View, and 61 at Westwood.
Around 10%, maybe?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Dr. Cox,
And-
do we know of how many more might have been vaccinated by their primary care doctors?
We don't. And, unless we actually required the reporting of it, that would be very difficult to determine. Typically, we only receive that information when a student has been exposed. And then that's one of the layers that allows them to have less quarantine or not quarantine at all, is being vaccinated. But according to, I want to say it's about 2% of Ashe County, according to App Health on their website, about 2%, but I don't know if that's lagging, at what point in time that was published, but about 2% is what it says. So a very small number of 5 to 11-year-olds, that is.
And from the date of the vaccine clinic, or when the elementary schools provided the vaccine, when will those students be fully vaccinated, have the opportunity to be fully vaccinated?
So that date would be December, I'm looking on my calendar here, December 17th. The second vaccination clinic is held on Friday, December 3rd. So that's when the children who received the first one through our partnership will receive their second vaccine. It'll be Friday, December 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. We're also offering first dose vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds for parents who want that for their child. Parents must be present if the vaccine is given on school site.
Any other questions, comments?
And if you hadn't had a chance to look, the most updated data is in there. I had broken it down as Josh had requested, and the elementary numbers were not a part of that original request, but I did put that in the quick summary or abstract, which does have the current 3 schools' elementary numbers together, including how many are participating in test to stay. And of course, if they're exposed at home with a family member, then they're not eligible yet for the test to stay. I do hear that that is something that's possible in the near future.
As a matter of interest, what's the policy that's being carried out in Wilkes, Allegheny, and Watauga? Are they optional or mask?
So I also put a picture of that in in the portal as well. This was as of Friday, so if anything has changed in the last 2 days, it's not represented here. We are considered mask optional at this point in time. Allegheny, Wilkes, and Watauga are all mask required. But the actual mask November 2021 graphic shows you where they are masked and where they are not across. That was as of Friday across the state.
Well, that coincides with what I found in my research too. 27 counties are optional, and then there's 4 or 5 counties that are on different little schedules, but the greater part of the state of North Carolina is mask. The map's practically blue with mask.
Now, from what I understand too, Ms. Jones, Wilkes County and Watauga County have actually a county mandate that is over top of that, if I'm not mistaken. So that kind of, I don't guess the board over their boards would not be able to change. I wouldn't think, if the county still had that over top of them, any indoor setting. I don't know. I'm just
I
wondering.
don't know either, but I'm assuming since they gave the local boards of education the power to do it, that they would have that option, but I don't know that point. But I noticed on the map that most of them, but the greater part of the counties in North Carolina, I would say 75% of the counties are masked, at least 70, all the eastern part of the state.
I was looking at my map. Any other questions, comments?
No, except North Carolina is now red. COVID is making a comeback, even in Ashe County. I just noticed the Ashe Times and Post, or the Mountain Times, had posted that our rate had gone from 21 to 37 since November the 11th. We had 37 cases. 4 people died in the last week.
Ms. Eldridge, did you have something?
Yes, I was just wondering, I want it to be clear as to our purpose for here today. If we even made a decision about masks, which was not what I thought we were going to talk about as a policy today, we'd have to do that again on in our December meeting. Am I correct?
That's correct.
That we have to do that again regardless of what we discussed today. And I want to make that clear to everyone, because there seems to be some misunderstanding of this meeting. But we would have to again decide in December, whatever else we decide today or don't decide today, we have to do that again in December. Is that correct?
Then, yeah.
Okay, I
State,
was-
state law says school boards have to reassess at least once a month. Now, and that's at least. I lost your audio, Diane. Did you say something? No, okay.
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
A lot of thoughts that are running through my mind on this. I've heard from a lot of parents and a lot of community people. One that struck home, they all struck home, but one was from a grandmother who had lost a family member. And she is hoping that we will look at the start date for the elementary to have mask optional. She would love for her children to be fully vaccinated before they have that mask optional at school and possibly exposure. I understand that. I respect those people who decide against the vaccine. That's their choice. I wish everyone would get vaccinated. I think that would be a way we could stop it. But that's my view. They have their view, and it's totally them. But I do think that we need to respect those families whose children are not fully vaccinated. And I would like for us to look at the start date for the elementary and possibly waiting until the children who are vaccinated have the first round, can be fully vaccinated before that we do mask optional there.
I agree with you. I think that I sent the letter first. I was worried about the amount of vaccine available. From what the health department was telling me, that we might not have enough vaccine. I was worried about our pediatricians being overloaded, and I do appreciate us being able to offer a vaccination clinic for those parents who want their kids vaccinated. And I think that it would be a good thing. The only thing is if we make that decision today, I don't want to be up and down about it. I don't want it to come December, the first meeting in December, and us change that date again. Of course, we won't have but a couple of weeks of school before our Christmas break. So I would like there to be an understanding of whatever decision we reach on that, Mr. McClure, that would go through and would not be changed in December. I think sometimes that up and down things is more harmful than making a decision. And as hard as it is, I don't know how we can make a decision, but we have to every month. But I would hate for us to come in the first week in December and say, oh, we changed our mind again. Everybody has to go back tomorrow. And it's mask optional again. Does y'all understand my point here? If we decide today, then are we going to hold that decision until the end of the year, or are we going to change it again? And it's our right to change it. I'm just asking that question. It might influence how I feel about it. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense, people? Talk to me.
Yes.
It does. It does make sense. And we have to look at it every month. There are so many facts out there that we have to go through. But one of the big ones is looking at the numbers of people in Ashe County who have COVID. Because as I said last month, I think what we see in the community is what we see in the school. If it increases in the community, it increases in the school. My goal would for us to be not to change it, but I really think we need to this time for the elementary. And that's my feelings on that.
I don't have a problem if we decide to change it this time for the elementary. I'm the one that sent out the first email about, could we consider this? But what I guess my concern is, okay, we didn't have all the facts when we made that decision in November. We did not. Now we have more facts. So I guess we need to remain fluid, but at the same time, I can see where we need to make a decision and stick to it at least through till January about the mask when it starts for our elementary students. I just think that that would be fair to everybody, that we keep that same schedule through December into January. And it might change by January. The facts are changing every day. I look at the incidence rates in countries in Northern Europe, and usually they're 3 weeks to 4 weeks ahead of us, and then it comes here. Those kind of statistics, and of course they're not here yet, and I'm glad they're not. I hope we don't get to that point again. But the numbers are rising again. And I don't know what the answer is. There are some breakthrough cases now when we've not had them, probably because people need the booster. So our numbers are changing. This is not one decision that, we're required to do it every month, but the situation is changing pretty rapidly at times. So last month we were orange, right? This month we're high. So, I mean, that's what 2 weeks ago we were in the orange range. Now we're in the red range. And we've lost some young people, not children, but young people that are fathers. In our school system, we've had several kids affected by death in the last 2 weeks. So, I just think we have to maintain that changing as our situation changes, but we don't need to change it necessarily. Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't think I'm making sense to me either right now. But I just feel like that we need to stick with whatever we decide about the elementary school till after Christmas. I guess is that a good way to put that? Until after Christmas, if we could come to that understanding.
Well, it would be just till December 6th, because we'll have to vote December 6th again on that. Now, I've got just a couple of things. I know, Mr. McClure, not everything I'm seeing in school, I don't see out in the public. I went to you go in shops, you go in Walmart, you go to different places, people wearing the mask all the time. Some are, some aren't. You go to ball games, basketball, volleyball, indoor events, they're not wearing the mask. I've heard from several folks, which I'm sure you all have too, in emails. I've been getting phone calls all weekend. Even some teachers and staff. The masks are also causing problems for some of our young kids too, anxiety. In that, that it's pent up that they're having to go back with those on. I've seen some pictures of masks that I'll just tell you turned to my stomach. And it was not a mask that had been worn all day. Respiratory issues on some of these kids. And from what I've heard from some of them at our high school and middle school, morale has seemed to be going up because they're being able to talk a little bit more with and intermingle with them, each other a little bit more, kind of like it used to be. When I got one email that said that they had a first grader talk to them and ask the teacher, said, am I going to have to wear my mask again next year? So you have to keep in mind, they were a kindergartner that wore a mask. They're a first grader that's wore a mask all year. And now if they go on to second grade, they don't know anything any different. I just worry we've made a decision in November to be optional for them to go. I know some of them, I've got 2 in the elementary schools myself. And Lila, my oldest, mentioned to me, said, well, Daddy, do I have to wear my mask? I said, well, that's for your mama and I to decide. That's our decision to make. As parents, whether you will or not, we'll touch that as we get to it. On there, I still think it should be, it's the parents' decision to get them vaccinated. I think it should be their decision on whether or not they have the mask on. But that's, That's the way I feel, because I'm not seeing the same thing in public that we have in the schools with the kids. I mean, even at the ball games, they have to wear a mask all day, but you can attend a ball game and it's not required that you have not, even if you're participating, let alone being a spectator. I just worry about us flopping back on this, even though we're just going to turn right back around in December 6th and make this another decision as well.
How many days from the 29th till Christmas vacation? What day does that start on? I know it's different for the high school because they're testing. I'm talking about elementary.
So their last day is that Friday, the 17th, and they will be home until January for the Christmas holidays.
So from
In
November-
high school, they have exams through that Friday, but it depends on, if you have there's some that don't have the same state testing. So I don't have their full schedule in front of me.
What day do they go back? January?
Mm,
January
see if I pull
the
that
3rd,
up.
or
I want to say that it's the
4th?
I think the 3rd and the 4th are work days.
Okay.
I don't have that.
I've got it at home. I just don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I don't have it pulled up, and
That's okay. It
I'll
don't
be here. I'll be here. So
Yeah.
So in essence, we're talking 3 more weeks.
okay, so the students go back on the 5th of January.
Which wouldn't have anything to do with mask at school, right? It's just through the 17th. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. McClure? Is going through the 17th of December?
Like to see. And I totally agree with Mr. Roden. You are right. People are not wearing their mask out in public. What I was referring to is the number of cases. If they increase in the community, they increase in the schools.
Mhm.
But I totally agree with those points that you made. But that's what I would like to see, so that these children who've started the vaccines can have the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. That's me personally. Each one of you has your own thoughts on that, I'm sure.
Fox, what happens if a student is quarantined during testing, state testing?
So we have to, if they are quarantined during state testing, Earl has to fill out an individual form for every single child that's quarantined to be able to test outside of that window, which would, likely be, depending on when they're quarantined end after Christmas holidays, which is tough on kids because they'll be in their new semester of classes at that point in time.
That wouldn't affect the elementary school.
No, that's only going to impact the high school and maybe a middle school class if they have their classes not year long. But for the most part, it impacts the high school. Yeah, it's that one makes me pause right now. I mean, being a former high school teacher, having a high schooler myself, I get it. I mean, that's, I'd be protecting myself as much as I could between now and the end of the, from my child's standpoint, whatever that meant. Mine's fully vaccinated, so he doesn't have to quarantine in the same way as others who have chosen not to, which is, part of the rules that we all have to follow, and part of the reason why we decided that he would get his.
I know we don't have the full numbers of folks that are vaccinated outside of school, outside of this clinic. But if I'm playing with figures here, so roughly we're, say, 1,000 children between the 3 elementary schools, and we've had 127 or so that have opted into this vaccination through the school. I mean, that's 10% or less of that population.
It's less because we don't have we have more than 1,000 elementary.
Okay, well, I was using
Yeah.
round numbers was quicker for me to,
Right, yeah.
but
Oh,
so that's less than 10% of our population that we would want to change what we've decided for. Which they have the option, they'll get the second shot, and that's fine. I'm fine if they want. We're not taking anything away. My whole point with optional is nothing is being taken away. If they want to wear the mask, they can wear the mask. If they don't, that's fine as well. Same way with the vaccine, and that's a personal choice on there. And I just worry those numbers to me. I know we were worried about vaccine shortages, that the pediatric offices didn't have them, and that we're worried we didn't have enough. But these numbers to me are just so low that we're not having that much participate in this. Now, that's not, they could be getting them at their physician's office. I don't know. And so I'm not saying that these are all the numbers that they are, but it just, to me, that's a low number to reverse our decision. And that's my opinion.
Several parents tell me that they have gone to their local doctor because they wanted their doctor present when, for some anxiety about getting the shots. And so I know of several who've told me they've gone to their doctors to do that. And I also have had some parents saying, when we did the mask I'm glad you had the mask mandate, because my kid would leave home with his mask. I'm not so sure he would wear it at school, even though they knew that I wanted them to wear it if no one else was wearing it. So that was a consideration for her. How do we monitor parents who want their kids to wear masks at school if we're not requiring that? So she's saying if everybody else, who's going to take it off if he wants to, but I don't want him to, but how do we monitor that kind of a situation? Teachers aren't going to know whose parents want them to wear a mask and who doesn't, huh?
I don't think they should have to monitor it. That's the.
No, but right now they are for us, bless you teachers, because that is a big deal. And so, there's that situation as well. I agree it's a small number. But I was hoping it would be a bigger number. But I do know that several are getting it through their family physicians, and said that they had to wait to get an appointment because they're slammed of people who are wanting to get their kids vaccinated through their doctors, which makes sense to me. So I don't know that we have the whole, what I'm trying to say, Mr. Roten, is I'm not sure we've got the whole picture with just what we've done at school. To offer the clinic, and thank you for offering that clinic. It makes it easier on families if they choose to do that.
I don't know. I'm hearing from
Like mask. I don't like mask, and I don't like making the decision for the parents. But I was touched by some of the pleas from some of the parents who wanted their children fully vaccinated and fully protected. And I know that is the reason for the call for our meeting today. And again, I've been torn with the emails and phone calls and conversations that I've had, and we are back right where I think that we stay in this decision. But I think that once the masks come off, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to ever come back. I do think about that. So we have a decision in front of us, but I want us to be clear, Josh, on what we have. What is it today that we even can decide? I hear Ms. Eldred, Diane saying, if we make a decision, we need to make a decision for, Diana, you saying for now until after Christmas, and then we stick with that even during our December meeting? Or Josh, am I hearing you say we can't make that decision? We can only make a decision up until December 6th. What are our parameters here? I'd like to be clear on that. So we can, I don't want to be called wishy-washy anymore. I don't want to be, I want to make a decision and go with it. And because I also think that our community may not understand what's going to happen because of quarantines when we remove the mask at the elementary school. And that's a fear I have because I don't want children at home, you know, and not in school, but that's going to look different. But again, I do not like masks. I mean, but what is our decision here? What can we do? What are our
Whatever would have to be until the next board meeting, which is December the 6th, because once a month we will have to decide. So whatever, you know, if anything is decided, then it'll only go till the 6th, and we have to turn right around again and vote on whether we're going to be optional or mandated
okay?
as a system, because we have to vote each month, every month, at least once a month.
But
And I noticed, I'm sorry, but
Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, but I noticed that some of the schools that are optional have set the optional day for second semester. And I'm sure they still have to vote every month, but they've set that one. I think one had set it for January something, if I read that right.
Yeah, Stokes County is effective January 4th, 22. Gaston, Madison, and Transylvania effective 11/29, which is the same as what we were looking at for KC.
But they will still have to vote again at their next board meeting.
Every month, correct.
I think when I said that, Dr. Simmons, was that I was just wanting to clarify what we could do and couldn't do. In a way, if we change the deadline, it needs to continue. If we change it back on December what date is that on? The 6th. Then if we do it till the 6th, and say, oh, okay, from now to Christmas, okay, we're not going to do masks. And then so the reason for us having this meeting is to extend that grace period or whatever to those kids who are being immunized. It makes no sense. I mean, unless we follow through all the way to January, it doesn't make sense to me to do it now and not continue that through January. Is that making, I'm just trying to get it clarified what our decision is today. It's just about continuing the mask for the elementary school till December the 6th.
Correct. That's all we can do right now.
We could set the date for January.
Right, but we'd vote on it again in December.
Exactly. And I would hope, I'm like Ms. Eldrith, I would hope we would stick with it, with our decision that we make today at our December meeting, but things could change. After our last meeting, I know that we had hoped to get the vaccines in quickly. Charlotte started with theirs the next day after we met. But again, Ashe County, it's hard to get things shipped to Ashe County, I guess, and they weren't available here. So parents had to wait. The first available date was the 10th.
I'm just going to give another worry that I've seen in my emails. We could stand to lose some students and possibly teachers that would leave. That's what I've seen in my emails. We've got some parents that are possibly wanting to pull their kids out homeschool. And that we've got some teachers that would leave if things, go back to mandated. That's just what I'm reading in the emails that I get.
Short amount of time?
Hmm?
Even
Well,
for that short amount of time?
The ones that have reached out for me now, again, this is not everybody, but the ones that have reached out, they're very stressed over having to watch, make sure that it's above the nose, to make sure that it's where it should be, and the cleanliness and non-cleanliness of some of them. It's just, let alone this whole time is stressful. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're stressed to the max, as we've said before. A lot of them are having headaches, and they don't have the headache when they're not without the mask for a certain period of time. I know I had two that told me the Veterans Day holiday, where we were able to give an extra some time off for that. They had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, and come back Monday morning and went back home Monday afternoon, and the headaches started again, all over for them. I don't want us to lose anybody over anything, because there's value. Our staff and teachers are so important to everything, as well as having the students in the house too. It's all works together.
And on the same line, I've had other teachers say they don't know how they're going to do small group instruction without their mask. And so it's, some feel this way, Josh, and some feel the way
I know,
that we.
that's what I said. It's just, I know that's not all, but it's what
Yeah,
I.
it's both. That's what makes our decision very difficult, is that we have people on both sides of that. But I know I've had a lot of teachers reach out to me saying that we really would like to continue the mask at least till through Christmas, because of how do you do small groups that they've been able to have with masks. We still got to do some metrics, even if we don't have masks. So how do we maintain that 6-foot distance and do small group instruction and do the things that we are beginning to do that we have not been able to do? And how do you do that if you don't have your kids in front of you? We're already looking at more quarantines per student. I don't know that the total is more, but I know that one student that is affected can send, without a mask, can send as many as 16 or 17 up to 24 kids at the high school because of the way they rotate home for quarantine. And those kids may never be sick. And with the mask, we don't have to do that kind of quarantine. And I'm going back to the same old thing I've been harping on, Josh, is it's the number of quarantines that bother me, and we have no control over that. That is the health department, DHS, all the way up the line, that this is the way that will be. And we have to follow those guidelines according to state statute. We have to do whatever the health department tells us with quarantines, and we have to help contact trace, and we have to do those things by law. It's not a choice we have. I know we've had some conversations with me, and we'd like to set up our own criteria and be able to do it that way. We're not allowed to. So to me, it's the quarantines, and how do you teach a child that's not there, that a parent may be having to take off from work because that kid is quarantined for 2 weeks. If they're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, they do not have to be quarantined. So that would be my argument for extending this mask requirement until we get those kids fully vaccinated, is that those kids will not have to be quarantined if they're exposed at school.
Any questions or comments?
I'm laughing because here we go again. And
No, we do it every month.
here we go again. And thank you, Governor. I appreciate that. So, I don't know that there's a good answer. I just know we have to work on it every month and try to look at all the evidence, try to look at all the things that could affect our decision and make the best decision we know how. All I know.
Was there anything that we need to decide on? Any motions on the floor? We're good at being quiet. I'm not hearing any. So
Mr. Rubin, I will make a motion that we extend the elementary mask mandate until after Christmas. And I'm sure I'll take plenty of hits for that, but I really feel like that. But I agree with Ms. Eldrith that we need to stick to that unless something terrible happens.
now you said after Christmas, so we're going to have to vote December 6th again.
And then let me finish it up. Then it's a good point. Then make mask optional for elementary on the first day back from Christmas vacation, which would be January 5th. Did we say?
5th.
No.
January 5th.
But I'd
I'll
like to get
second
the
that
others.
motion.
I'd like to get others' thoughts on that.
Okay. Well, we have a motion from Mr. McClure, seconded by Ms. Eldrith. So discussion. We will still have to revote December 6th, but
High school, no, this doesn't have anything to do with the high school and middle school,
K6.
K6.
Any questions, comments? We will call for the vote. So we have to do those individually again. So I'll start with Mr. McClure,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Dr. Simmons,
Yes.
Ms. Eldrith,
Yes.
Chairman Roten, I vote no. So motion carries 4-1. All right.
May I make a statement? It's not that I'm trying to deprive anybody of any parental rights at all. It's the quarantining that I'm worried, concerned about, that, you know, yeah, it's your right to do that, but the state has demanded that we quarantine kids, and there's more quarantines where they're not masked. And to me, that is one of the most detrimental things we can do for our classrooms, is to have these kids at home and having them come in and out. It's very hard to have an education system that is effective when you're doing that kind of a rotation. And I wish COVID would just die a natural death really, really soon, but that ain't going to happen. So we're going to have to deal with this the best we can. And it's a month by month thing. And I would hope that you all would grant us the opportunity to make the best decisions that we know how. And all of us have spent many hours and many agonizing moments on what is the right thing to do. And I hope you all will support us.
And I want those students that want to be fully vaccinated to be fully vaccinated this month and be protected, especially our high-risk students. And then after Christmas, I want masks to be optional, and I want that to be the parents' decision moving forward. And unless our numbers peak, I don't want to make the mask decision for anyone anymore.
Totally agree with you, Dr. Simmons.
Any other comments?
I make a motion that we dismiss.
Okay. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Ms. Jones. All those in favor to dismiss, raise your hand. I won't do a single vote on that one. I can see everybody's hand, so we're good. So motion carries. So we will reconvene December 6th for our regular board meeting at the annex there. Thank you for getting on this evening for that. We'll talk to you soon.